What's going on, everybody? Welcome to day 23 of the 31 Days of Horror. We are closing in on the month. We're getting to the grand finale, Halloween. I cannot wait to just sit back and enjoy the night and watch some of my favorite films for sure. So we're going to talk about one of my favorite films right now, and it's from 1931. It's directed by Todd Browning, and that film is Dracula, starring Bela Lugosi, Dwight Frye, Edward Van Sloan, star-studded cast of that era, 1931's finest. Okay, often when I talk about 1931, I talk about the same movies. I talk about Dracula, Frankenstein, Public Enemy, and Little Caesar, which are all movies from the same year. And Little Caesar and Public Enemy, they're totally they're more up the trash dashes range. I think he might have done those videos all right in his Mobtober, which I love. So go ahead and check out the trash dash if you haven't. Dracula is probably one of my earliest memories in terms of movies. Dracula and Frankenstein, to be perfectly honest. But Dracula to me is probably still one of my favorite films when it comes to horror, mostly because of the impact it left on me when I was a kid. Uh, Basically, just based off two scenes, and one of the scenes isn't even really technically got anything. It doesn't really have anything graphic in it at all. And it's the scene where Renfield, played by Dwight Frye, is in the bottom of or sort of the hold of that boat, and he's doing that grin and that laugh. He's like like that, and the cop is like, why he's mad? Why the man's gone crazy? Like that, and like even like the shots of the boat in the water, like going ape shit, like that was always fucking terrifying to me. Like it looked so horrific. And my father, my grandpa, Stu, shout out to Stu, rest in peace, Stu. He was in the Navy in the 50s, and I remember thinking, like when I seen this movie, like thinking, like that's what he probably went through, even though it was like, in this movie, it's a fucking really old rickety like pirate ship, and he was on like a fucking naval, like a battleship. I think that when you talk about a movie like Dracula, you really need to emphasize on the time that it came out. So previous to this, there was some Lon Chaney classics, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Phantom of the Opera. There was German expressionism films like Nosferatu, Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. I believe there was one back in the day called Hexen, and there was a really old Frankenstein film. I think it might have had Thomas Edison behind it, to be perfectly honest. I could be wrong on that, but so basically there wasn't much for horror, okay, especially talkies, okay. So 1931, this that spawned the birth of cinema that had sound, of dialogue, not just written words on the screen. So Dracula probably scared a lot of people the same way a movie like The Exorcist would have. Okay, just based off atmosphere alone. Like you look at this movie and you feel the sets and you feel the cast. Like even at the beginning of the movie, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll give you a quick little summary on the film. So, a broker, a realtor guy, he comes to Transylvania to go visit Count Dracula because he wants to buy a property in England, and everyone warns him, don't fucking go. He goes anyway. He's met with a bat that flies the coach, which of course is played by Bela Lugosi. When this coach comes and meets him, and it's totally Bela Lugosi, but it turns into a bat because at one point Renfield's like, hey driver, slow down. And he looks out the window and it's a fucking bat, and he just like goes and just like sits down like completely like, what the fuck? Then he makes it to the castle, of course, and then he's greeted by Dracula, turned into one of Dracula's slaves, and then brought upon a boat, sent to a mental institution, and then he kind of is being a double agent to some degree between the owners of this asylum that's beside the property that Dracula has purchased. And it's really cool to see Dracula play both sides of of society. Like he's like a fucking blood drinker, and like that's the thing. Everything's implied in this movie, but like the implied horror is in your fucking head. And speaking as a person that experienced it firsthand, like even when he takes that woman that's like selling the flowers like into the alley and she screams, like I envisioned it in my fucking head, like him biting into her neck and like drinking her blood, like drinking blood. How fucked is that, man? And that's what Dracula does. And I remember being a really young kid, and my dad would be he's a bloodsucker, a goddamn bloodsucker, like playing off the line from Lost Boys. And I just remember thinking like, oh, a bloodsucker. I'm like a fucking 4-year-old kid, and like it's kind of good that he started me off with movies like this. Like he didn't just go like, hey, here's fucking Lucio Fulci, Gates of Hell. Like he didn't have it at the time, to be honest with you. But you know, I pretty much went from Dracula to Clockwork Orange to Omega Man with Charlton Heston. Like it's such a I feel very fortunate to have the old man, have Richie back in the day when he was still alive, like to show me these movies and stuff, and especially movies like this, because it just holds this fucking spot in my heart. Like if I was sitting here and like let's say like there are some buddies here and they're like, hey, throw on a film, I might be reluctant depending on who it is, but this is one of them that I would highly consider, just because it's so good, it's so classic. Like I said about the atmosphere earlier, man, it drips in gothic horror. Every scene that you see inside of that castle, from like like the outside of it into the inside, like little lobby area, when Bela Lugosi comes down those stairs and he says, "I bid you welcome," and Children of the Night, what music they make, like all that shit, man. I remember even being annoyed in, I believe it was Bram Stoker's Dracula by Coppola, where Gary Oldman doesn't say the exact line that Bela Lugosi said, and I remember always being upset with that because I used to say it all the time, and no one really understood what the fuck I was talking about because much like a lot of us horror kids, when we were kids, we were into the horror, and not everyone always was. I feel like people from the 80s, they have more commonplace with that kind of stuff, but people my age, like growing up like in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a lot of comedies and a lot of crap out there, but there was still some decent horror and stuff like that. I remember watching quite a few movies at buddy's house. There's one movie that I forgot to really talk about in my Nightmare on Elm Street, Night of the Living Dead remake video from yesterday, was the remake of Dawn of the Dead from 2004. I remember I was 12 years old when that movie came out, and my buddy Mike, like I think like they either rented it or he had a bootleg of it. He must have rented it. I remember watching the movie and being like, this is fucking insane, because I knew Dawn of the Dead, and it was like a big deal to me that my friends were like psyched to watch Dawn of the Dead the remake, and this was like really before remakes had the stigma that they had, at least in my knowledge. I know that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was out by then, and probably a few other that I'm forgetting right now, but I remember thinking like, wow, this is crazy. Like we're gonna watch Dawn of the Dead, like the remake. Like this is a hardcore movie. Like they're running zombies. Get the fuck out of here. I remember like that was such a big deal, like running zombies. Like because in 1978, George Romero's film, like these zombies, like you could kind of evade, unless you're getting your blood pressure taken. But you could evade those zombies if it was just kind of like maybe 1-on-3 kind of thing. You could, if you're a football player, you'd have it fucking made. But in 2004, like you weren't getting away. And even I can specifically remember one of the most terrifying scenes to me was in the opening like 15 minutes when the woman, I forget what her name was, I think it might have been Sarah, was driving away from her home after she had that horrific experience with the neighbor girl, and she ends up getting behind this bus, and like you can see this silhouette of a woman like getting torn apart, and I just remember thinking, holy fuck, that's crazy. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. If you want to really talk about remakes with Dracula, Hammer, man, Hammer fucking just hammered it into the history books with horror, because I think that if you really do want to talk about remakes, they did it the best. The Mummy, Curse of Frankenstein, Dracula, also known as Horror of Dracula. That's what I know it as. And you know, Dracula, or excuse me, Frankenstein created woman, Prince of Darkness, Taste the Last Rites of Dracula. Like, there's so fucking many of them. I think Hammer put out like 9 Dracula films, and then there's even other one, like Dario Argento did one, for fuck's sakes. There's a really good Netflix show from a few years ago that really did an excellent job at showcasing, you know, all of like like there's a scene where Dracula kind of feels like a Bela Lugosi. There's a scene where, there's parts of it where he feels like Bela Lugosi. There's parts of it where he feels like Christopher Lee, and and then like he puts into his own like version, like that actor. I forget what his name was, but fuck, man, he did a great job. That show was excellent. Not nearly talked about enough. People gave it shit when it came out, but you know what? Fuck them. I loved it. I thought it was great. You know, and again, that's what makes this fun. Like I said on the podcast the other night, or the live show I did, that's what makes movie, like being a movie fan, fun. Trash Dash might like this, I might not. I might like this, he might not. You know what I mean? Some stuff we love. It's together. It's all about having your own opinion and finding what you love, because you take a stack of the movies like I've talked about tonight. Well, in your case, the last 4 days, The Blob, Night of the Living Dead, The Exorcist, and Dracula. Like those are just fucking banger films, man. Like I dare you to find one person out there that's gonna say that any of these movies suck. That's an actual horror fan. It's impossible. Okay, and I really do want to get a Hammer film on this list, but there's a bunch of stuff that's not going to make it because, it's really hard to devise a 31-day horror marathon without showing the same director. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to have, like I did George Romero the first fucking day with Creepshow, and then I kind of wanted to do Martin, but I can't do Martin, and I can't do Dawn of the Dead, I can't do Day of the Dead, I can't do Land of the, you know what I mean? So that's pretty much, I wanted to have a Night of the Living Dead of some kind, so that's why I used this with day 22 or 23, I want to say. But anyways, enough said. Dracula, 1931, Universal Monster Classic. Go ahead and watch this film if you haven't. Watch it. Apparently, I've heard from James Rolfe, which apparently nowadays his opinion is kind of tarnished a bit, but to say the least. I remember he used to rant and rave about how good the Spanish version of the film was. So that is one I've still yet to check out. So Bela Lugosi is Dracula to me, followed by Christopher Lee. Maybe Christopher Lee a little bit more, but this movie is burned into my retinas. And I love Edward Van Sloan in it. I love Dwight Fry, Bela Lugosi. Everyone does their thing. So with that being said, I appreciate everybody for watching. Leave a 666 in the comments. And adios. I'll see you tomorrow.